Hello! This video is all about how to fill out a sample job application. Each slide will go over what information needs to go in what box on the application, and this is broken down by sections. Let's get started. The first section of your application is all about your personal information. The first box we will look at asks you for your name. In this case, it is asking for your first name, a comma, your middle initial, a comma, and then your last name. Next, the application wants your social security number. Your social security number is very important and is something that you should keep private. When you write your social security number, you write 3 numbers, a dash, 2 numbers, a dash, and then 4 numbers. This next box asks you for your mailing address. In this box, you will put the house or apartment number and the street you live on. In the box below, you will put the city you live in, the state, and the zip code. You can write out the entire name of the state or use the abbreviation if you prefer. This box is asking you to put your telephone number. In this case, you would want to choose the number that you are most likely to answer, which for most people is their cell phone number. The box immediately to the right asks for an alternate phone number if you have one. Some people would put their home phone number or their business phone number here. But if you have neither of those things, you can simply put NA in the box, which stands for not applicable. Next, the application wants to know if you are under 18 years of age, and if so, to include your age. They ask this because of child labor laws and how many hours children under the age of 18 are allowed to work during the week. This could also have to do with the job requirements. If you are under 18, write your age here, and if not, put NA. Lastly, this bottom box is asking for your email. Make sure that you are given an email address that you check frequently and that it has an appropriate name. Write the email you would use in this box and then move on to the next section. This next section is all about the job you are applying for. The first row is all about the hours that you can work during the week. If you have no preference about when you work, you can put a check mark in this box and disregard the rest of the boxes in this row. However, if you are only available to work on certain days, you need to fill in the boxes that are circled here. In each of these boxes, there is a small checkbox in the upper left corner. If you have any availability that day, put a check in the box, and underneath it, write the hours you can work that day. Do this for all of the boxes in this row that apply to you. The next row down wants to know what kind of position you are seeking. If you are looking for a full-time job, put a check in this box. If you are looking for a part-time job, put a check in this box. If you would accept either a full-time or a part-time position, you can put a check in this box here. The last row asks for more logistical information. This box wants to know how many hours you can work during the week, which should reflect the times that you have written 2 rows up in the circled information. Write that total in this box. Next, they want to know if you are available to work nights. If so, write yes. If not, write no. Lastly, the date that you are available to start working should go in this box. This section is asking for more information about you overall that can help your potential employer make a decision of whether or not they want to hire you. The first row wants to know if you have worked for this company or organization in the past. Check yes or no depending on your situation. Next, they want to know that you are a U.S. citizen, a permanent resident, or a foreign national with authorization to work in the United States. Again, check yes or no. Next, they are asking about your criminal background, if you have one, based on the qualifications in the box to the left. Check yes or no. If you said yes, the next box down gives you room to explain the situation and what happened. Next, they want to know if you have a driver's license. Check yes or no. If you said yes here, the next 2 boxes to the right ask for your driver's license number, which can be found on your driver's license, and what state the license is from. The last 2 rows are asking about your driving record. First, if you have had any accidents in the last 3 years. If so, how many? Next, they want to know if you have had any moving violations in the last 3 years. And again, how many, if any. This section is all about education. One important thing to note is that this is only asking about high school, none of your previous schooling. The first box here wants to know the name of the high school you attend. Write that in this box. Next, they would like to know the address of the school. If you do not know this information, you can look the information up online or ask a teacher and then put that information in this box. This box here would like to know how many years of school you have completed. If you've already graduated, you should put 4 in this box. If you are a senior, you've completed 3 years of high school. If you are a junior, you have completed 2 years, and so on. The next box asks for your major, which is something that you can disregard. You do not have a major in high school, only in college, so you can leave this box blank or write NA. Lastly, they want to know if you have received a degree or diploma. When you graduate from high school, the only option is a diploma. Degrees are reserved for college. However, if you have not graduated, then you have not received a diploma yet. So again, you can leave this blank or write NA. If you attended another high school before your current one, you should list the appropriate information for that school in row 2. But if you have only attended one high school, then all of the other rows will remain blank in this section. This section here uses the same headings as the previous section, but is asking about college, business, or trade school. Because all of you are in high school, you will have no information to put here, so you can disregard this section of the application. This section will also only apply to a small number of you since you are in high school. If you are not a member, or have never been a member of any of the armed forces, you can completely disregard this section of the application. But in case this applies to anyone, I will walk through what goes in each box. The first box is asking if you have ever been in the armed forces. If yes, check yes. If no, check no. Moving one row down, are you currently a member of the National Guard? If yes, check yes. If no, check no. As a side note, you are not considered to be a member until you have sworn in to the Guard, so if you have not done that step, even if you are enlisting, you would still check no. These last 3 boxes apply to those who checked yes to either of the other 2 yes boxes. The first box wants to know the date you entered the military, and the box below wants to know the date you were discharged, if you have been. If you are still a member, you can put NA in this box. The bottom row wants to know what your specialty was or is while in the service, so that would go here. This section wants to know about your previous work history. You would start with the company that you currently work for or that you have worked for the most recently. The first box wants to know the name of the company. Next, what was the name of the last supervisor or manager you had while you worked there? When you were working, how many hours did you work during the week? If you did not have a consistent or steady schedule, come up with an average and put that in this box. Next, what was the address of the company you worked for? In this box, they are asking for only the street number and the street name. This box below is where you would put the city, state, and zip code of the company. Next, what was the main phone number for the company? Write that here. Moving over, the application wants to know when you started working for the company. If you do not remember the exact date, it is acceptable to put the month and the year. The box below wants to know when you stopped working for the company. And again, this can be just the month and the year. If you still work for this company, you can write NA in this box. Next, they want to know what your salary was when you started working for the company. Put that figure here. And again, the box below wants to know what your salary was when you left the company. If you still work for the company, write the amount that you currently make. This box here wants to know what your most previous job title was. Write that in this box here. If you have left the company, the application wants to know the specific reason why you left. If you are still with the company, you can write NA in this box. Moving down, while you were at this job, the application wants to know what your job responsibilities were. They ask this because it is possible that you may have experience with some of the skills that you would need to use in the job that you are applying for. Lastly, they would like to know if they can contact this employer. If yes, check yes. If not, say no. This section is for your references. The part that is circled says, please include name, phone number, and circumstances of your acquaintance. Exclude relatives and former employees. Each application will have different qualifications for who can be used as a reference, so it's really important to read this fine print before proceeding. Once you have the name and phone number of your references, you can fill in their information and how you know each person in rows 1, 2, 3, and 4. The last thing you have to do before submitting a job application is sign an agreement. This application says, I certify that all answers and statements on this application are true and complete to the best of my knowledge. I understand that, should this application contain any false or misleading information, my application may be rejected or my employment with this company terminated. Each application has a different kind of disclaimer here, so make sure you read this and agree with it before signing your name. Lastly, this box will ask you to put your signature, not printing your name, and then write the date that you filled out this application. And now you have a completed job application. Thanks for watching, and I hope this was helpful.